Very welcome to my stream. We're gonna be finishing off something. Oh wait, we have a delivery, a pallet filled with steel that's come back from the factory. So we received a second load. So I think we're working on the forward to the back now. We'll work on the front. Complete this armor. So there's no sense in just making it back on the front. You need one or just set up. Okay. Check. Go. Lots to think about. Okay. Lots to do. Check on the plates. Hey, what's up? Yeah. No, it's not. 2250. 2250. It's on the chart. Hmm? Yeah, yeah. It changed because the landlord wasn't satisfied. Yeah. There's the white bits. So yes, we have. Oh yeah. Need to. Headphones. Got the mics. Sorry guys. Oh man. Okay. Sorry guys. So we are continuing this stream. As you can see, we have new parts that have recently been galvanized. I would say the finish is a lot better than the last one, so hopefully there'll be less stuff to do. We finished the painting over there, so we might actually get around to lacing that today. But I want to see if we can start work on this galvanizing this stuff. And finish is a lot better. They have blown it off, but there is still some work to do. I bought some more sandpaper and a new Dremel bit that will hopefully help this stuff along. So let's get to it. Have this stuff. Organized. Alright, yeah, ready to go. Looks like this could use more re-drilling. Like they did a bath, and so basically they dipped it in hot zinc and resealed up our drill holes. So we don't have to do it in those. Just cover the boxes. Technical tags. It's like a clothing store with new clothes with a tag store tag. Let's see. Okay. We've got to re-drill these first. Alright. so begins the process of getting all this galvanization out. Drill itself, the drill. Bringing this stuff over. And is that a good angle? I don't know. That looks like a good angle. Alright, stop. Alright. So we have to do several passes. Drilling all night, so I'll try to think of topics to think about. How's everyone doing in the middle of this crisis? It sucks that I can't really do the stuff that I used to do, like play poker live and exercise and 2 weeks feel like pent up. Right. Let's see. What do we need here? I think we need 5mm. See ya. 5mm. Pretty sure that's 5mm. We'll work this. 0.5mm. On the plus side, I can do all the drills that I missed, kind of couldn't bother going back to doing. So there's that, I guess. Alright, let's begin. So yeah, how are you guys doing in this apocalypse? That's one tomorrow. We'll raise the stakes. Just drilling, more drilling. Important not to push too hard, otherwise I'll crack the protective coating that we put on it. Just let the drill bite into the steel. Probably not a good. That's close, isn't it? Right, so I'm just gonna keep going with this. So how's your guys' day today? I went to work as usual and more programming stuff. If you guys didn't know, what I do for work is my trade. I'm a software engineer, which is really different to what I do on stream. I guess that comes from like, I do enough of it at work and I kind of want to take my mind off stuff. So just want to do something different, and metal work is pretty different. So if you guys are following along, I'm doing this mainly because I want to get fit. I think the driving force behind that is to be attractive, so I can find somebody, because everybody wants a little bit of romance. That's what I'm doing. Well, maybe psychologically, this is just a distraction. I'm subconsciously protecting myself, and it's manifesting as blacksmithing because no one will ever hurt me again. Man, the stories I could tell you about people I've dated, it's not a good experience. Would not recommend. I'm pretty sure, like, if you guys went through what I went through, you'd probably be put off by the whole idea of dating. And I'm not sure why, like, at the time, like, I was attracted to some people, but I just had it go, you know? For the majority of my life, I felt my dating prospects were slim pickings. I guess I didn't really bother like nurturing human relationships very much during high school and university. Man, high school and university were bad times for me. That's a different story. Yeah, like now I guess like the common theme of my life, I would say, is escaping, right? Just want to escape from hard toils of the day. Just want to escape from the stresses built out throughout the day, and I just want to take my mind off it and just want to be free of like the daily obligations and stresses I have to go through each day. So let's start at the beginning. So if you didn't know much by now, like, I'm a software engineer for a job, so that's what I do as a day job. I program explosives. I program for an explosives company, but it's not as awesome as it sounds. Because my company just wants to release sort of like digital services to help miners record data more conveniently. But that's really, really hard to do when the internet connection on a remote mine site isn't really that great. So it's actually really tough in that situation to replace. It's really tough in that situation to replace paper with a mobile app, which is the thing I'm trying to build. Yes, that's what I do for a job, and at the end of the day, I always find myself trying to forget, and relax, and decompress. Which is why I always end up engaging in doing things that are very far removed from what I do at work. Which leads me to the question. I need to concentrate on this very tricky bit. Alright, so we re-drilled those holes. That's alright. So many more to go. I think there's a 4.5s. So this is the armpit plate. Gotta make sure this part is smooth because these are the edges that will make contact with your torso and arms. Yeah, this is like very far removed from what I do. Uh-oh, that's bad. I think I better tighten up that bit. I did not like that very much. Okay, let's tighten it up a bit. Okay. That should do it. Alright, so it's a little noisy, but I'll try to keep going. So yeah, like, I always end up doing things that are far removed from what I do at work. This is different, and programming for 8 hours a day is just gets tedious and boring, especially if you're not particularly passionate about the project. It's just a day job. So, which is why, like, during my free time, I want to explore really, and find something I do like, and hopefully make a living off that. So one of these, like, so I got into this because I quickly like figured out for myself that I couldn't really play traditional sports. I've always found it tedious and boring, and I eventually got bored of it. And so I came across I came across this, how did I get into it? Oh, I forget how I got into this. I think let's see. I'm trying to remember how I got into where I am now. I think at the time, like I tried, like, after a year of living on my own, I wanted to, you know, start exploring and not just spend all my time at home, which is kind of what I did for a year. And I quickly got really depressed. I wasn't doing anything with my time. So I started to explore, and I met up with, you know, just people who wanted to socialize and hang out. And then one year, our company decides to do like an end-of-year activity, and what we ended up doing was archery. So it wasn't archery in the traditional sense. It was archery. It was archery tag. So the difference is that you would still wear, imagine paintball but with archery masks. Well, imagine paintball but instead of guns, you used bows. And instead of like sharp tipped bows, you used like soft arrowhead bows. That'll do. Yeah, so instead of like archery bows, or instead of like paintballs, you used like low-powered bows with soft arrowheads. And I did that for a while. So I played archery tag, you know, as a weekly fitness thing. But then I got bored of it because, you know, the setup was the same, you know, same map, same cover, different game types, but, you know, still the same thing. And I eventually got bored of it. And around that same time, I discovered a LARP group, I think? Yeah, I got into LARP. Which was basically the same thing, except, you know, instead of like archery, like bows and stuff, instead of that, like, it had swords as well. So I thought that added like an interesting mechanic to the game where you couldn't just like duck and hide forever. There was like a urgency to like fight people. So I got into LARP with a local group called Swordcraft. And then like some drama happened, which I will go into later if you guys remind me of the story. But basically, like, we had a falling out, and eventually, was that a Zorn? Okay. Alright, yeah, so we had a falling out, and the people that fell out with the group decided to go, I'm going to make my own LARP group, Blackjack and Hookers, and I kind of followed them because Swordcraft wasn't really particularly fair, and it wasn't particularly fair, and it was just like rotten on the inside. They weren't very friendly in the streaming sessions, because I thought that's what this would turn into. I thought that this channel would turn into a LARP channel. And I thought that would be pretty interesting to stream. Yeah. That didn't go the way I expected. Eventually I got bored of that as well. Because I felt like the shortcomings of that system. I was just like, fuck this, I want to stop losing. So I took it upon myself to learn how to handle a sword. So I was looking around for like martial arts schools, and eventually I was able to fill my timetable. So I think at one point I had, stream twice a week, and then let's see, stream twice a week, LARP on Fridays, and then like martial arts on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So going into that. So let's not skip ahead. At this time of like playing LARP, I was like, I just want to be better and not lose all the time. So I decided to find a place where I could learn how to handle a sword better. And so in doing I gotta confirm this with my friends later. Get my timeline straight. It was like, I'm trying to remember like what happened. My memory is not that clear. Yeah. So let's see. So went to Swordcraft. Swordcraft definitely came first, and so this is a Dremel, and we bought this new bit, which is not really fighting into this Dremel, which is really sad. So I'm going to find this new drill there. And this drill bit will do. Nope. That's it. So Swordcraft came first. I forgot how it started. I forget. I really do. That's sad. Started on this entire game. But it's good to look back and discover like where you came from. So this is a low power drill which we do to fix like certain abnormalities on the surface, especially at 1 power plug. I want to jam it. Oh, guys. Keep plugging in the drills, but you never plug in the batteries. Why should you plug the batteries back in? Alright, so this guy's straight out. Alright, so here's the picture. Because I can't drill that hole without the instructions. Right. Oh, good with them. Here. Oh, it wasn't that hole, this hole. Sorry, this is taking a while to fix me up. I'll talk back in a second. Oh. Okay, return drilling. Alright. So yeah, like, I think the conversation was is like hobbies and hobbies that I've left behind. And, you know, I end up doing hobbies outside of work, which are very far removed from what I actually do. So, before I moved, like, when I moved here to Newcastle, I was heavy into video games, and I was kind of like, didn't really have I would say that during my formative years in university, I didn't really have a hobby. Like, I only adopted my friends' hobbies because I wanted friends. So you kind of just try, you know, the hobbies that your friends do. And at the time, you know, it was a lot of gaming. Not to say I didn't enjoy games, but I also, like, adopted games that my friends played to a very competitive level. So, World of Tanks. I'm glad I'm wearing safety glasses. That kind of sprayed into my face. Ow! Oh, got like metal shards all over my face. Okay, so World of Tanks, Smash, a game I adopted that was like not my own. I think my friends introduced me. StarCraft to some extent. StarCraft, various animes. I wasn't really deep into the animes like everyone, because everyone would quote like animes like they knew so many episodes off by heart, and many like of those memorable moments they would just remember. So I had a lot of that. One of them was Smash. When I moved here, I still had that hunger for competitive Smash. So when I first moved here, I was playing Smash and games on Overwatch at the time. Yeah, I think I still wanted to be like the best at Overwatch. It's sort of like a pipe dream, really. You didn't really like study it very hard. I think I just played it for fun and not like to the extent that I needed to be if I wanted to be competitive. So I played and watched for a bit. And when I got here, like my first year out here, I was still playing Overwatch and still playing Overwatch and still playing Smash. And even to the point where I saw I found a LAN center, and I think when I first moved here, like I explored like, oh, is there any Smash people in Newcastle? And to my surprise, like there was a LAN center that started hosting Project M just for me, because at the time I think I was like Perth's number 10 in Smash. There's still a video out there. I was in the weekly power rankings, and I was number 10. Because a lot of the old guys moved out, and I just so happened to continue playing, and I wasn't tired of it. So they retired, and I was still in the scene, active in the scene, and that's pretty much how I got like number 10. Not because I was better, but because like everyone retired, in my opinion. And so yeah, that's how I got to Smash. So first year in the Smash I watched, and I played like a whole year, which I did more of my time. So I didn't really have much of a direction other than to recover from post graduation depression, because that's where I was. I didn't know exactly where to go with life. And I was really depressed when I graduated uni. I didn't graduate with the course I wanted. I kind of just like cruised to university and still achieved a software engineering degree out of that anyway. My plans didn't really work out in Japan, studying Japanese. I just lost interest, like a lot of things I lost interest in. Lost interest in Japanese, lost interest in Smash, because I don't do that anymore. I think to some extent what I do, like, instead of playing Smash, I want to, so this was a pivotal decision. So in my first year and second year, I tried the best I could to compete in New South Wales. Now, it was really hard for me to play Smash here because there's not much of a community where I was. So, like I said, when I first moved here, a local LAN center started hosting PM because I don't know how he was connected, but he just heard that I was coming down, and Um, and because I was coming down, I started hosting PM forums, which is pretty cool. But that soon died off, and then I discovered that there wasn't enough. There wasn't enough of a scene here in Project M to like compete competitively in Sydney. See, the main thing is that Sydney people have over here was that they had plenty of people that could just come over and train with you for 5 hours, or like over a weekend. Sorry, so yeah, that's the main advantage like Sydney had over West Country Bumpkins was that they had a bigger scene and like lots of training partners, and so there was no way like the country bumpkins like us could possibly like compete because they had variety, they had availability. It was really easy to set up a meet and do weekly tournaments. There was at least like a tournament you could probably go to every day of the week. So every day of the week you could possibly just sit down and play Smash for all your evenings. Every evening, Monday to Friday, even Saturday and Sunday, like a tournament everywhere. It was like a tournament held in every university and so on. So, sheesh, it's just a lot of like drips. I think I have to sit down and not even drill. I have to like mine out all of those. I have to prep these before drilling. Dripping has its own issues. We thought we were finished, but we're probably about halfway through. Just discovering more work by more work. Just can't get it done to the point I want it. Looks like we're not even going to be drilling there. We're just going to sit down and try to get our drill holes back. Can't even drill straight away. I have to like prep. I'm going to do that with the Dremel. That's not plugged in. Turn it off. Yeah, so no worries. Oh, right. So yeah, my Smash career. This entire stream is going to be about my Smash career. So let's see. Let's go into that. This is my story. Okay, this is the Untold Senpai Chronicles. Back when I was called Slow. See, like I began my Smash career being introduced to it by a friend in uni. That's a weird sound. I'll probably have to drill through that again. Can I drill through this? I think I can drill through this. This looks okay. Yeah, okay. That's fine. That's fine. So yeah, Smart Senpai, the Smash Chronicles. So I was introduced to it in university, and I had a friend. Well, I don't know about. Maybe friend is too strong a word. Not because I hate him or anything. It's because I was like not a very social person. Did not respond to social cues. Not very sensitive about that. I'm like I'm like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I don't pick up on social cues very well. And that often leads to like social problems, and I don't really imitate. I don't really have very good social skills, and it's often led to problems. Problems. I don't even remember all of them, but like stuff like basically I just did things that made sense to me, and it pissed off a lot of people in the process. Yeah, let's not get into that. So Smash Career. So I was introduced to the game by a friend, like a friend slash associate in university, and he introduced to me this game. So I think even before that, I've always was drawn to the game because I discovered my like in the university I joined a club called the Anime Club, and sorry, like there's this thing I need to share more. So I had this club called the Anime Club, and they got as part of like the anime culture, I guess they had a Wii, and that Wii was used for lots of things, but eventually it became like the Wii machine. Uh, Basically became the brawl machine in the back of the room, and became the brawl machine in the back of the room, taking away that focus of anime and having like people brawl in the back of the room. It was insanely popular to the point where it's more popular than the anime itself. But anyway, so I joined that club, and they had that Wii, and I would find myself playing brawl all the time. So yes, I'm not a purist like most people think. Hey, hey James, what's up? Um, the sign, printing it, nice. I'm gonna have to like start doing things and ordering like chocolates. Okay, so I had a university. Man, I can never finish this story. So I was in a university club, and they had a Wii that was insanely popular, mainly because of Smash. So I'm not a purist. I started with Super Smash Brawl, and then played that for my entire uni career. And then a freshman came, the guy I was talking about, and he said, "Oh, did you know that you could mod? Did you know you could mod like this game to something called Project M?" I was like, "What's Project M?" And I was like, "Well, Project M is like an imaginary like conversation I remember with him. But he basically said Project M is the Smash community's um, said Project M is the Smash community's response to Brawl, because Brawl is essentially a party game. I didn't know what he meant by that because I never really played it competitively. I just played it, um, and I never understood why. Other people from I never understood why like other people I faced at uni were like better than me. I never could figure out like Um, I could never figure out. Screen timeout, 30 minutes. Pretty sure that's it. It's already been 30 minutes there. I haven't even gotten through one story because I'm just jumping to all over the place. So is it, well, like there's this version called Project M. It's like, what's Project M? And Project M was I didn't know what Project M was, but then I figured out it was like the direction Sakurai took Smash was so bad with Brawl after releasing something like Melee. Like people went out of their way to make the new Smash like like Melee without the party mechanics like tripping. Ugh, that was horrible. Like tripping and just it was slower. Smash balls weren't really used. All that stuff. Yeah, Smash. So I'll get into that later, but basically I discovered through the Smash documentary um, that you know, Brawl was so far removed from what the original community wanted. So like, I think Sakurai always intended Smash to be a party game and never take into the serious competitive levels that it is now evolved into. Um, but yeah, like people disagreed with like Brawl, like Super Smash Brothers Brawl for the Nintendo Wii, like divided the community. Some people wanted to play it competitively, and other people didn't mind it. It was just another casual party game, which was, the whole shtick of the Wii and making it more accessible to, like casual players. So the community was split on Brawl, and so they developed a mod called Project M, and I was introduced to that mod. It was insanely faster. Like after you move from Brawl to Project M, like you just never go back because like all the movements were faster, slicker. Um, Everything was guaranteed. So like the motion, like the everything was guaranteed. Like there was no more trip mechanics if you reacted too quickly. Smash balls were not a thing. Well, they didn't have to remove that. And then all the characters were rebalanced. Cause like I remember as Brawl, like I could never do anything other than play defensive as Snake because I want to play Snake because like when you start out, there's already an established meta, especially with Brawl, because like there were fast characters, and fast characters had more options, and because you had more options, you had more of a game to play. So you only had really like 5 characters maybe like that you could play. I believe it was like Fox, was Moth, I think Moth was up there, Pikachu was up there, Captain Falcon, Falco, Wolf. Well, maybe not Wolf, but um, there was only like very few viable characters, and I think like Fox and Moth dominated the meta because that's what the meta was in the league. But here's why Brawl had such an advantage over. Well, here's why Project M like kind of came into its own over Melee because like Melee once again had that same problem. Like you only had very few characters that you could viably play, so you still have the Moth meta, you still have the Fox meta. Yeah, think Mewtwo to some extent. Um, yeah, I think Mewtwo to some extent, but mostly like Fox and that whole meta of Fox, Marth, Captain Falcon. Pretty sure it was all that you could play. Hey, was all you could play at the time. So that's kind of how it translated over to Brawl. But Brawl was Vanilla Brawl was worse because like they tried to make it more casual. So I think they tried to remove what competitive elements were there, and in doing so made the meta even more restrictive than before. Where was I going with this? Like when you introduced me to Project M, like here's where Project M like shines on its own. Like all the characters were rebalanced, so it was a fresh new meta, and because like it was semi being supported by the devs at the time, it was pretty much sort of like how Riot live service is happening today. There were updates and versions, and you could download the version and flash it onto your Wii and modify, your current version, which was really cool because there were balance changes. There were balance changes, and that was like never ever seen before in Brawl or like Melee ever, like Super Smash ever, like a live service with patches. So it was a fresh new meta, and being introduced to this incredibly intimidating like Fox, Marth, Falcon like meta, like being introduced to all of that, I wanted to play something different. So what I was like, who is the most unique OP character there? And it was Snake. The Snake could like throw a bomb. Well, like Link, throwing bombs is not a unique thing, but he could set traps. And like the ad to play Snake, like there was an advertisement for like Brawl to play Snake. It's like it sold me, right? It's like you have to play as tactically as you would in Metal Gear Solid, which makes me more of a so for years I pretended to be like a Metal Gear Solid fan, but in reality, like all I ever did was play Snake and Brawl. So ashamed. I've never finished a Metal Gear Solid game except for the kind of game. I mean, I tried, man. I tried. Oh man, that's not a good camera angle, is it? So let's just tilt that back. I was never a. Wow. You have bought toilet paper for all? Jesus. My chat is not picking this up. Sorry for ignoring you there. I think it's crap. Who is that? Man, I'm missing messages. God damn it! Like the chat's not working. I'm sorry. Let me try and fix this. Say stuff. Try and say stuff. Is it not working? Oh, my chat isn't working. That sucks, dude. I'm missing rated. Wait, is that even today? It's not even. It's not even like 9 o'clock yet. All right, say something. Chat was down. Okay. Sorry. I'm trying to view where chat is. I see some emojis. I'm not seeing chat now. Where is this chat coming from? God. swear like it was working. Let me see. Is it on YouTube? Check my channel. Is it even streaming to YouTube? I have to do some quick editing here. Make the chat bigger. Yeah, okay, I can kind of see chat now, so we'll see how that goes. Man, Restream was down. Like, that sucks. I'm entirely dependent on this thing. I was entirely dependent on it. Jesus, okay, that's not working. Chat's not working. Christ. It's not working. I don't know why. Just don't know what's going on. I'm gonna search for myself. Man, I can't even find myself on Facebook. How sucky is this? Alright. I thought I had this figured out, but then chat isn't working. I just hate that when that happens. It's just fucking restream, but just restream. Why restream? Why? Why don't you work? Chat. Yeah, it's just not showing up. I can't tell you what to do. I'll just hopefully reply there. There's a small chat down here. Hopefully I can read it. Man, I'm so entirely dependent on this thing. Sorry. I missed your messages, wherever you are. I think I make it out. DJ Halo. Oh. Sorry, buddy. Really sorry. So yeah, where was I? Trying to figure out where I am in the story. So yeah, I never played Smash competitively, and I chose Snake because I wanted to be different, and because at the time, like, no one knew how to deal with Snake, but there was plenty of people that played Smash traditionally, and so I felt like I was exploring a new meta by playing Snake because, like, there was a pre-established Smash meta where everyone played Marth, Fox. Everyone played Marth, Fox, or Captain Falcon. Maybe they'd like put a handicap on themselves and play Ganondorf. But that was primarily it. I don't remember much from then on. So I think Game & Watch was a thing. Toon Link was also a thing. Yeah. Toon Link was also a thing. Yeah, but Snake played really differently. I mean, Toon Link was sort of like Toon Link was basically only so it's established matter for that. But yeah, I wanted to play someone really different because like no one knew how to deal with the snake, because it was scheduled projectiles, traps, and throwing people into mines, and interrupting combos with grenades. Like people could not get around that headspace. People could not get around that headspace. And yeah, I felt very accomplished as Snake like really early because I was doing well, playing this weird, janky style that no Smash player has had ever thought about doing. So I felt like a really special case where no one played Snake but me, and I would always have this edge over people because Snake plays really differently to like your traditional Smash. But that was to my detriment as well, because like when I played Snake, because he played so differently to everyone else, like I had no one to follow. Like I had to build my own meta, and it was really tough because like if my friends had like a problem improving their game, they would only need to look up like videos on YouTube, like of pro people playing that character in the established meta. I had no such luxury as Snake. The Snake was really new and didn't play like traditional Smash characters. Because like as Snake, you can set up like you can minefield the entire like stage and get map control. No other character could do that as well as Snake. It's like as your like with C4, like C4 mines and grenades, you could basically minefield like all these options and like cut those options off from people. And that was my strength and weakness because like as soon as I got into like a traditional like Smash, well not a traditional Smash, but as soon as I got into like a situation that was just a fight, like a traditional Smash situation fight. If I got into that situation, like my playstyle did not develop at all in that area, so I would just get schooled. So like all the pros in Perth would just body me like in these matches because they were fast enough to get all. They were too fast for me to like even set up any kind of zone. So what Snake does really well is that he can cut off people's options by placing mines and bombs in particular areas. So in Smash where you just shield, like Snake could shield and also he could hold a grenade. So when you shield, like it would basically be his counterattack because when you hit him while he was holding a grenade, he would explode. So it was sort of like acted like explosive armor, or like very much like Marth's counter, where you hit into the person. It felt like a counter, but it's not really a counter because you held a grenade, and all the grenade did was explode when you hit it. But it was faster than a counter and really special in its own way because it wasn't like other counters where if you pull off the counter you don't suffer any damage. With Snake's grenade, you suffer, right? Because the grenade was neutral, and that helped with like the whole meta because you could use the grenade to interrupt like someone's string, for instance. Like if you're in trouble and you're like getting comboed off the stage, you can use a grenade um, to interrupt their string, where it would lead into death, or you could use the grenade to, because the grenade didn't have like a lot of knockback. You could use the grenade to like interrupt like your trajectory. So if you're flying off into space and you pull out a grenade, you could theoretically use the like hold on to the grenade till it exploded, and then stop someone's um, stop stop flying off the stage. It would interrupt you and you would stop, and you could DI off that, which is directional influence. You DI off that back towards the stage. So he had this really cool mechanic where, because his grenades were neutral, you could use them like sort of like how Warlock in Hearthstone um, damages himself to draw cards. You could damage yourself to save yourself. So it's like a Pikachu mechanic, but way more useful. Yeah. Um, but I discovered that later on. Like you could like hurt yourself to save yourself, to get like a temporary reprieve from like the barrage of attacks you may be finding yourself in. And no other character could do that, right? No other character could do that except for maybe Link. Link's bombs are. I think Link's bombs are neutral. I think Link can get damaged by his own bombs. Actually, no, they can't. No other, like I stand by this, no other character could do that. Yeah, so, which is why I like Snake. The more I played him, the more inspired I was to play him. It's like all the things you could do with his explosives were like inspirational. And just groundbreaking. I originally thought like the fact that like two of Snake's specials could damage himself. I always thought that was like a annoying mechanic to have in Smash. But it turns out it was like super useful. Like, for example, like C4 recoveries. That was amazing. Like, so if you were like off the stage, you could, like, there is. Sorry, just hanging up some stuff here. Oh, that's really weird. Okay. Yeah, looks pretty good. Just cleaning up a few holes. Yeah, so C4 recovery is like grenades took too long. So how grenades work is after you press B, and after pressing B, like you can either choose to hold it or tap it. If you tap it, you just throw it immediately. So basically, you just pull the pin and hold on to it. So that's what we call cooking the grenade. And then as soon as you pull the pin, like which is basically the start of where you press B, you hold the grenade. It starts to count down. So usually it's like 3 seconds or 2 seconds. But I always wanted grenades to like explode faster, like to have less of a fuse. Always wanted grenades to have less of a fuse, but I mean, it is what it is. I think for balance reasons, it was probably just right. So, like, as soon as you pull the grenade, it would start counting down, and as soon as it counts down, it will explode. So, like, you had this like weird meta where if you like grenades are also neutral as well. So, if a grenade explodes near you, it will hurt you, just like a normal grenade would. Uh, and that all just doesn't exist. Yep. Okay. Um. So yeah, like I always thought that was annoying, but then because when you start playing stage, you start seeing how useful that mechanic is. So I primarily use grenades to get out of string combos because you know when you're playing Smash with friends, usually there is a group or a guy I know that plays the game a lot. There's always a pro, basically, always a pro ready to stop you at Smash, which is what happened to me. Um, Excuse me, was that getting looser? So in my case, like I had like several pros around me that were ready to stop me, and I had to come up with a defense for being comboed. So comboed is where like that like every time you get hit, there's always some kind of lag before you can um, act again, and usually the more you are damaged, the more intense that lag is. So the more less time you have to act out of it, basically. I think this is okay. I think they sanded this down for me. Not really, because there's one they missed a spot. Um, and, as the new kid on the block, you get comboed quite a bit. Yeah, you just get comboed quite a bit, and throughout and I had to come up with some kind of defense to get out of these combos. And I discovered if you pull a grenade and you get hit, usually they hit you center mass. They usually hit the grenade as they do it. I, I would explode because when you hit a grenade, well, if you hit a grenade, basically. So that's the cool thing about grenades. Grenades can, um, if you hit it, like if you punch it or kick it in any way, it explodes and it damages you. So that's another tactic of mine I like doing. Because of that mechanic, like it was like pressure. It was basically like hitbox sensitive. So if you hit it, it explodes. Because of that mechanic, I was able to come up with like a rudimentary defense. So as I was being comboed, aka, they would have me in a string, ready to execute me. I would pull a grenade, and the grenade would interrupt their string. And it would frustrate them every time. They don't realize that if I'm holding a grenade, they have to back off. And here's the thing, right? Like when you here's the thing: when you pull a grenade, you basically take control of that fight, even if it's forcing a reset. So you could force a reset, like with when you're in a bad position as Snake. So you're being juggled by like a really fast character like Fox or Pikachu. You pull a grenade in the middle of the combo string, and it interrupts them, and then it resets the fight back to neutral. So I did that a lot because I couldn't really find another way of beating these guys, or like even getting like a hit in, because Snake is slow. Like despite having like a lot of map control and really cool projectiles to play with, and a different play style that kind of doesn't really follow the meta, he's slow. Like faster than the slowest characters, but still pretty slow in terms of the Fox, Mask, Captain Falcon. So yeah, I discovered so that's one way I discovered like grenades were really useful, and that is a mechanic unique to Snake, because only Snake can has this type of bomb. Toon Link and Link can pull bombs. Samus Aran can pull bombs, but they are largely useless because you don't really see the utility that self-damaging grenades and explosives can bring to a fight. And I discovered this rather early because watching there was one pro who played Snake with Project M, and his name was Professor Pro. And I loved his videos. I like watch them religiously and try to like lab out and practice his moves. And one of his particular moves was like really cool. Like I think I first learned the C4 recovery from him. So if you're like far off the stage, you could like C4 recover. So if you're like halfway off the stage and you have some decent fall length before you hit bottom, you could drop a C4, like just hover in place, try and like slow down everything, like hover in place, like drop a C4, and if you spammed like the B button, or like if you just had the timing down, you could detonate the C4 whilst it was like on your person. So you have to do it exactly right. Too early, like if you spammed it too much, you basically cancel the explosion. If it's too early, you just drop the C4 and you don't trigger it at all. If it's too late, the C4, for some reason, the C4 drops faster than your body does. Your body, like for some reason, like Snake has a lot of float, like a slower gravity than Smash. How does gravity work? So yeah, you could C4 recover, and because Snake is like somewhat floaty, it takes a long time for him to fall, and in doing so, you have a lot of time to trigger that C4, and you can choose your spot. So at first I did it immediately, then I kind of got used to like how much time I had before like dying off the bottom of the stage. So I could choose like how far away I wanted my C4, because then like if you C4, so largely the C4 recover is like because you've used, usually when you use a special or use a move, like your character can't act anymore. But having a C4 and grenades and things like that, you like if you threw them and or if you drop them, that'd be it. You don't have any more actions to take. But because they're neutral, they damage you. So once you take damage, you can back out again. So that means you can lead to longer strings as long as you damaged yourself in some fashion. So C4 recovery is one such action where it's sort of like you can use a special without having to end your string of moves. So yeah, that's the C4 recovery. You use it off the edge. You use the explosion to reset yourself, which means you can use your recovery again. So usually recoveries are like another special move that you do, and after you use it, if you don't touch the ground to like it's what they would call special recovery, I think is the terminology for it. So special recovery is like after you use a special move, you can't act anymore. So usually that puts into special recovery mode, and it only goes away when you touch the ground again. So yeah, there's that. So like with C4 recoveries, you drop the C4 as your special move, and then you detonate it. You can detonate it without having touched the ground because you're just dropping the bomb. And then because you damage yourself, like you reset the string because you took damage. Yeah, it's really fun. I haven't played Smash in a while. Should get back into it. I haven't really gotten a Smash. I should explore that. See if I like Smash again. So yeah, C4 recovery, you use it off the edge to drop it. Usually you can do it out of a Cypher. So a Cypher is Snake's recovery move. You just grab onto a helicopter and it sends you like horizontal, like diagonally. Because it sends you diagonally, you can see like C4 out of it. And sometimes the recovery isn't enough to get you back on stage. So what you could do is that out of Cypher, you go into C4, you C4 recovery, explode yourself, and the explosion sends you upwards. So it gets you even more airtime. So theoretically, like as long as your damage didn't kill you, like you could just C4 recover off the side as many times as you want. But generally, you don't want to do that because you're just building damage on yourself. And the more damage you have, the more likely it is you'll get pushed out of the ring. So you can C4 recovery and like recover onto the stage quite easily. So if your enemies didn't specifically like spike you or like send you straight across the edge, like the shortest distance to die, usually you want to aim for the corners and inwards, so you dampen the force and then like aim for the corners to give yourself as much time to recover as you can. And usually, you send yourself up into like the top left corner, and then you're coming back down into the stage. And even then, you can have a lot of options as Snake, because even if you didn't quite make it to the stage, you could C4 recover and still make it across, provided that they don't spike you out of your C4 recovery. And then that evolved into, like I think as once I got the C4 recovery down, I started figuring out that you could L cancel off the side of a stage. So if you didn't press L like next to the stage, usually you bounce off it, or so if you're coming off the side and you C4 recover, if you press L, the moment you impact with the stage, it cancels all your momentum. So it just basically looks like you hit the stage and went splat, and then like you could do that from any percentage. So like if you're at like 99, you C4 like it gives you like a recovery option, even though like there's no recovery option available to any other character. Because any other character that gets exploded, like gets high damage and gets hit off the stage, usually like they run out of moves and can't even make it back onto the stage. But with Snake, you could like C4 recover and from any percentage like get back onto the stage, because you basically like DI in such a way that you impact with the stage, and as long as you got your timing right, you just sort of like cancel all of your momentum, because if you miss, you just bounce off the stage and into death, or in the work, like, or you send yourself and kill yourself off the screen by sending yourself above and on top of the screen if you missed, because that happens a lot. You still have an option to like intercept with the stage. You still have an option to like DI into the stage and cancel all your momentum that you caused by trying to C4 recover at a high percentage. Because usually it would just kill you. Straight up kill you. That's a really cool, unique thing. It's like you just have such a good recovery, and like people could just juggle you forever, and as long as you had like C4 timings, you could just get back onto the stage. Really cool often. So I really like playing Snake back in the day. I miss it. So yeah, where were we? We were talking about my Smash career. So when I left, I was number 10 in the power rankings. I don't know if I was actually number 10, but I'll take it. Okay. I don't know if it was number 10, but I'll take it. Okay. Man, this is really itchy. I gotta wash this, I guess. It's super itchy to wear now because of all the metal shards that got into the game. Yeah, so Smash Korea. So, don't play Smash anymore. So I moved over here, like being still in Project M. So like for a while I just streamed and tried to just stream like my Project M training sessions. And I was still into it, and I attended like weekly tournaments, practiced at a gaming cafe, really cool. Had like a mobile stream setup. That was also pretty awesome. So yeah, I moved out here because I was going through a pretty dark time and I needed to go on a soul-searching journey. Also the fact that I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life at the time. So I moved out here and got a job and moved out here. Still into Smash at the time. So yeah, we'll go into that later. So I was still into Smash, and when I moved here, I reached out to the Smash community, and it seems like there was like a small community here in Newcastle, and a new LAN center just opened up. And I think it evolved from like a golf course originally, but then it became a LAN center. Like the owner changed, or like I don't know. I think it used to be a mini golf course. That had like an arcade attached, but then like that closed down, and I think the runner wanted to continue, so he opened up his own LAN center. And that LAN center welcomed me and started running Project M tournaments for a while. And in the first year of being here in Newcastle, like I streamed going there, practicing for like Sydney tournaments, basically. Trying to get better. But I discovered quickly by attending those tournaments that I could never get good enough because Project M was an inaccessible game and Newcastle was too small a town. It was too small a town. So I could never really get the quality of training and competition that was necessary to be good enough at tournaments. Because usually I would face characters that I've never played before. So the only other players in Newcastle was like a guy that played Ike, and a guy that played Ivysaur. That was it. I got good against those two guys, but in Sydney, it would be like Sonic, Ganon. We had like a really good player called Sora who played Donkey Kong, and I just get bodied, and I could never have a response to their gameplay because just not enough practice. There's no way I could practice because like it was too much of a pain in the ass travel down to Sydney to get that kind of practice. Yeah, so one day, like realizing this, I could never be good enough with where I am. I could never be good enough because it's just the quality, the availability of training was not available. And realizing this, I would never be good enough because I could never practice against those weird characters or characters that were not Ike and Ivysaur. I could never like explore my gameplay outside of versing those characters. So I realized this, and I decided, you know what? Like instead of quitting, I actually decided to take a project onto myself to see if I could build an artificial intelligence that I could play against. So that project is still in the works, and it's still something that I'm working on. So hopefully someday it will be like it will pay off. And ever since I decided to work on that project, I've never played Smash since because there was no point. I wanted to be competitive and good at what I was, but just didn't have like decent people to play with. And it was too hard to travel to Sydney. So I eventually stopped playing. And now there's Smash Ultimate, so I might be able to play online with that. And that might get me somewhere. So ended my Smash career. The TLDR version is that I got introduced to it in university, started with Brawl, came up with a janky playstyle that I developed and learned off the pros for a bit. Never got quite to the level like Rolex and Professor Pro, but decent enough for my time. Got up to like 10, moved away because like I needed help, and I found a job here in New South Wales. I moved here, continued to play Smash for a bit, and decided that it's too difficult to become pro where I was and where I lived, because it's just the community was too small where I was, so I gave it up. Instead of like complaining about it, I decided to say, you know what, I'm going to see if I can come up with a training program. So I've been working on that program ever since because it's a cool project, and hopefully someday it will pay off. But so ends my Smash career. Still working on the training program. I work on and off. It's been so long since I touched a GameCube controller. I'm in my second year here now. I think I moved here in like 2017, it's now 2020. 2018. April 2007, I think. Now it's 2020. So yeah, it's my third year this April. Yeah, that ends my Smash career. I climbed to top 10 in Perth and left it there to search for an artificial intelligence that would help me become the champion again. And I've been kind of on and off with that project. So my love for Smash has slowly died. Yep, and that's my Smash story. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. control this. I did reunite with my crew back in Perth. I think they've moved on. I don't think they remember me anymore. Yeah. I don't know, maybe I'll discover it again with Smash Ultimate. See, like, if I could play one game, probably be Smash Ultimate. I think I wanted to be a purist for a while, and that's why I didn't really ever change over into, like, I believe, like, there was Wii U Smash, and then Smash Ultimate came out afterwards. But I was too into Project M when Wii U came out. Never really progressed from there. Been playing games since, you know, just playing Overwatch. Got into Overwatch. I wasn't into Overwatch before I left. Man, it's been so long. I've been playing League lately because I think it's just me latching onto the hobbies again. I realized that my sister played again. She got invited by friends at uni to play, and you know, playing together, I didn't want to drag her down, so that's why I kind of made it a mini goal for myself to master jungle, and then, you know, see what happens. Maybe she'll respect me again. But yeah, I've been searching for something I'm interested in for a long time. And I made it a goal for myself to, you know, the usual things like getting fit. I wanted to get fitter, which is kind of what led me to this. I wanted to find a hobby, which led me down several routes. So I was in love for a bit. Like, let's get back to that story. So yeah, when I came here, I was into Project M, and you know, that story ended like it did. I was in Project M, and then I realized that I could never be good enough, like where I am, unless I moved to Sydney. Which, you know, Sydney actually scares me, and I don't want to move. I've been there, it's just so busy, and like I hear all the time like people complaining about public transport and shit like that, and like how everything's expensive. I tend to agree. Like I've been there, and I said to myself, wow, like, I don't understand how people can live like this. But even still, I would move to LA given the chance. I think that still needs to be done, so that still needs to be done. This needs to be done. So yeah, it's kind of a contradiction, really. Like, I would I don't want to live in Sydney, but I would live in a bigger city than Sydney, where all the problems that I have with Sydney are worse. So I'd still do that. So still back to where I was. I was still at Project M. That ended because, like I knew I could never get better where I lived. So, and I had a job here, so I made the decision. You know what? Let's try and do that project we never finished. And we never finished that project, and we let Project M die because it was a dying community. People were moving on. And shit happened in Perth. I think it's still alive in Perth, but right, so just that there. I'll have to redraw this again. Let's start doing more work in there. Redraw that anyway. So we're trying to just target the 3.5 mil holes. What we're doing. So yeah, I was into Project M, still into Overwatch, played Overwatch in the downtime, and then I decided, you know what, I want to get more healthier, I want to get fitter, and I'm still kind of depressed here in Newcastle, because I have nothing to look forward to. It was just eat, sleep, work. I still had like a stash of antidepressants. So I wanted to improve my life. I started exploring. So I explored with the local Project M community, and then eventually into Sydney. And I found where that led me. That led me to a project that I haven't finished, which would be really cool to complete and show that off in the original Project M community. Yeah. That's cool. And then I wanted to get healthier and stop being depressed all the time, and started having hobbies. So I went on meetup.com and just went on to like socializing type groups and did all sorts of stuff. And then 1 year for work, I think we've been on this point before, 1 year for work, we decided to do an end of year activity, which was, we wanted to do an end of year activity, and it just so happened to be archery tag. And imagine paintball. Imagine paintball that is imagine paintball, but instead of guns, you have bows instead. And that was archery tag. So instead of sharp arrows, you just have blunt arrows. And you had all sorts of game modes outside of that. So, you had capture the flag, you had basically dodgeball rules with it. You had PUBG rules, infection. Also, it was good for a while, right? And then because it got samey, kind of got bored of it and moved on. And I think I found like Swordcraft. I'm not sure how I found Swordcraft, but I think a few like Swordcraft people played like this. I think a few Swordcraft people played like archery tag once and invited me to check out Swordcraft Newcastle. got into LARP for a while. I think only recently, like, decided not to go to LARP and do other things. Do my project instead. Kind of active online during LARP, but because I'm doing factory stuff. Just trying to find, some physical activity that I could do for a while. And I did LARP. And it was basically archery tag but with swords. So it was very easy to get into. And like it also had a cosplay element, which I always had like a tiny interest in. So I like the idea of like building my own character and here's the common theme, escaping again into various hobbies that were just deeply different from work. Yeah. So I did LARP for a while, and then that led to, because I lost so many times at LARP, I decided, hey, I don't want to lose in a sword fight over again. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to take it upon myself to learn swords so I can be better at this game. Because it did have an element of martial skill. But, using a sword takes some practice. I mean, you could just be an idiot with a sword and just wave it around, but it won't get you very far. Which is what I decided to do this properly and decided to learn. So it's like, screw this, I'm tired of losing these LARP games, I'm going to learn how to wield a sword for real, and hopefully get better at dueling people. So I sought out sword fighting, Newcastle, I tried out a couple of schools, shout outs to Staccato. Their training regimen was really slow, and then eventually I got introduced to. So there was Staccato that happened on Wednesdays, and then Staccato happened on Wednesdays, and I went for a while. And then they said, "Oh, we're gonna have you 8 months of drills before we can have you spar somebody." No thanks. I am not paying money just to do drills all the time. So the instructor at Staccato introduced me to a different school which was focused on Japanese, which is because I'm really into, well, not really into it. I have a fondness for anime and Japanese stuff. So I said, hey, that's a good idea. Even though I don't like this school, I'm gonna see what this martial arts school is like, this Japanese martial arts school, where they just focus on sword. And I've been there ever since. So after a while, after doing sword fighting and LARP, at some point it got really, LARP felt too unrealistic to me, because the weapon physics were very different. So, as you could imagine, because LARP weapons are not steel, in short. They were not steel at all. Not steel at all, so you didn't have the interactions that you were practicing in Japanese martial arts. For example, when you had katana on katana, if you were fighting with a steel katana, it would bounce a lot less. With a LARP foam weapon, you just whip it around however you want, because it's super light, it flexes, it can whip, and generally people moving around with a foam katana will just be able to do things that you wouldn't with a steel katana. Steel katana leaves you open if you don't choose the right move. Because as soon as you make the steel move, it carries through. Once it's heavy, and you've got to like deal with the momentum of moving a high, like a dense steel bar in space. With a foam weapon, you just do whatever you wanted. Which led to like me starting to think, hey, like this LARP thing is sweet and all, but all this practice that I'm putting into like martial arts is not paying off here because none of what I do works. Like the interactions are really different, the physics are different, so therefore my guards and my positioning is off. It just doesn't work in a LARP context. Yeah, just like LARP felt too unrealistic. And also LARP, for safety reasons, didn't allow you to do certain things. So in the LARPs that I participated, you weren't allowed to strike at people's heads. And that, being taught in martial arts, is like a prime target, right? So you had this dichotomy, this contrast of two conflicting elements, where you know your muscle memory is telling you to strike at their heads in this situation, but you can't because you know we're not trying to kill them. And that whole idea of learning martial arts is to defend yourself and kill people, whereas in LARP you're having fun and it's all about safety. And even though you're hitting people, at the end of the day, you don't want to kill them. So I came to the realization that this LARP thing isn't realistic enough. So I want to find something more realistic. I think somewhere along during my search, I tried reenactment. Reenactment seemed fun. It seemed like a cool community. They said, "Oh, come out with us and stuff," and attend festivals. That's what I did. Went to people's houses, built stuff, talked about history. Wasn't really into the history bit. More into the full contact fighting bit, which they did with steel. And they just did reenactment, so they didn't really fight to an extent. They just did stage fighting. And they even had safer rules than LARP, which I really didn't want to get into. It was just super confusing, and you know, like reenactment went well for a while. It went well for a while. Then like a trainer came in. One of our a member. So I did reenactment for Vanguard, and I wanted to do a samurai, follow the samurai path, because you know I'm a reed. And, you know, I was there training, and I just wanted to move up to like two-handed longsword, which is all a samurai wants to do. But I had to go through the rigmarole of going through like single-handed steel, spear, which I didn't want to do because they didn't really have spears. They just had really long quarterstaffs. I couldn't identify with spears. And spears is really boring because you only could stab in the stomach and stab in the knee. And that was really boring. And like when it finally came to graduate and move on to long-handed sword, like they stopped me and said, "I'm gonna sign you off on spears, but you're not ready." It's like, I don't care about single-handed sword. I don't care about spears. All I want to do is two-handed. That's it. All I want to do is two-handed, and all I want to do is dual wielding. All I ever wanted. And they didn't allow me to. So I stopped going. I stopped going to this group called Vanguard. because that particular trainer that stopped me ruined it all. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not going to waste my time driving half, half an hour to come to this spot in the middle of nowhere and be told that I can't, do what I want to do in my free time. So I stopped going. I said, I'm not going to continue anymore. Yeah, never looked at Vanguard since. So I think reenactment is cool, but I found the SCA, which is a lot better. They have a larger community and like regulated fighting, and it's a reenactment community. Well, it's not a reenactment community. It's sort of like pseudo history. They loosely base like their characters, but they have their own version of history. And there's like lore and stuff to it, which I can't be bothered like studying. But it's just a bunch of people trying to reenact, basically. In a much more fun way, because they have a better full contact system, which I appreciate. Now they can't study with steel, or you can't fight with steel, but you do get to bash each other with the time, which is, basically like wooden bats. And I've met through SCA, and that's where we are now. Like, still trying to find that sport I like. Oh, hey, Scarlet Knight, good to see you. I think you've been here like 3 minutes. So, I was drilling and telling my recount of, the chronicles of finding a sport, a hobby. So I can start again if you like on how we got where we are now. Like trying to find a sport. Do you want to hear that story? Like how we got here? Why are we making armor? There's like a really short answer and a really long answer, and I'm trying to give you the really long answer. Like why are we making armor now? That's a question with a very short and a very long answer. Which one do you want to hear, buddy? Nah, it's good. Yeah. What do you mean? Like you're gonna have to give me more than nah, it's good, because like by the time I read it, I'm not gonna know what you're talking about. So you're gonna have to answer in full sentences. So. I presume that like I don't need to start again, but I'm trying to practice in like keeping the conversation going, and I think it all ends up being rambling anyway, which is better than dead air. But how much better is it? And my throat hurts now because I've been talking for 2 hours straight now. Talking for 2 hours straight. It's one of my goals. I do want to make this stream work. I thought it was like oversaturation in Overwatch. I thought it was oversaturation in Overwatch, which is why I stopped playing Overwatch to stream. And now I'm here. So, doing metal work. And I don't think it's oversaturated yet. So, let's give it a good shot. I might move on to something else to stream. I don't know, we're giving metalwork and project making a good go instead of Overwatch, which is why we're here. And now the other goal is trying to work on filling that dead air with something. And this is that something. Just talking and shooting the shit for 2 hours. And I think tonight I've gone through my entire Smash career. Like, I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to play Smash really competitively. Not anymore. Right? Like, just a lot of regrets in life, man. It's like, how did it get so depressing? A lot of regrets. How's the sound going? You good? Is it good? Is the sound okay? I get nervous because, like, when people start talking, like, I don't know if it's the sound or something. Like a lot of heavy drills and things, just like drilling away. So let's see. Where was I? So the long answer of why I'm making Oven now is because I'm trying to find a sport that I will never get bored of. I tried a lot of things. I think in high school I did soccer until I broke my leg, then I lost my taste for it. Even after my leg fully recovered, just didn't play soccer anymore. I turned to video games. Didn't really quite find a game I was good at. I found Smash. I was really into that. Really into Smash, but then like I couldn't be competitive living in a small town. I mean, I don't know where you live. You live in America, right? Where I think California is where you live. Well, I live in a place called Newcastle, and it's a small town 3 hours north of Sydney. So it's a really small town next to a really big city. And to no one's surprise, this small town doesn't have much of a Smash community. It doesn't have much of a Smash community. So I was really competitive back in Perth. And you don't know this about me, but I used to be number 10 in Perth. I was like top 10 Project M player Perth. I was really proud of that. But honestly, I think it's because like I stayed in the scene where a lot of pros retired, but I'll take it. So there's a video of me like in there's a video of me in Perth, like doing I think it was doing like a power ranking at the time. So a power ranking is like, oh, who is the top 10 players this month? And I made top 10 one month. So yeah, I was really into Smash, but then because I was in a small city, like there's not many, I couldn't find many people to practice with, and it was a pain in the ass to go to Sydney just to practice Smash. And I played a version called Project M, which is a modded version of Brawl, like the Wii version. Modded version called Project M, and it was really inaccessible because it was basically a mod, and although they managed it, the mod is like hacker levels of insane just to install the thing on your Wii. Like you needed to break your Wii, you needed to break in your Wii. You needed to hack the Wii and then flash it with like something called homebrew, like basically jailbreak the Wii to even just to get it to like work. It was like super hard. And I heard, yeah, dude, yeah. So I used to be top 10, and like the reason why I couldn't continue is because like it's like finding good practice in a very niche game, in a very niche town, super hard. Like, the only players in my area played Ivysaur and Ike. So as soon as I was like practicing heats, and as soon as I get down to Sydney, I get bodied because there were other players that played stuff that was not Ike and Ivysaur, and I would just suck and get bodied, and I would get super disheartened that I couldn't win. And I realized that it was because of where I was. This might be a really poor excuse, but I realized logically that I couldn't get enough decent practice where I was. Yeah. Just couldn't get enough decent practice where I was, so I gave it up. And niche game upon niche game, like, I think this is 3.5. A super niche game, and couldn't get decent practice. So I stopped playing. I knew I couldn't like. There wasn't a lack of will. It was the fact that it was impossible to get really like decent quality training to the kind where I could be competitive in Sydney. So I came up with the idea, right? This is like an Elon Musk moment. I came up with the idea instead of like. So I asked myself, like, what could I do about it? I don't have a lot of players here to help me. I don't have a lot of players here to help me, train. So what could I do to improve this situation? And I came up with the idea is that if I built an AI to train with instead, then maybe I would have a chance. And so that leads us here to today. I'm working on an AI project that could do Smash, but then because I've been focused on that project, I left Smash by the wayside and never played it again. So it's now a computing project which I haven't really finished. So I have a diary, right? I actually have a tech diary. So every time I would work on this AI, I would write an entry, and I have a diary that goes back a year or two. So it is a really long project.
Doesn't this give you a new problem?
What?
You'd be good at playing against an AI, not a human.
Well,
AIs don't play the same way a human does.
That's right. But I thought a way around that, and that was you can develop this learning algorithm that's called imitation learning. So it would imitate the thing it observes. So you could potentially put that online and get other people to download your AI program, and then the AI they would just have to play with it, right? I could set it up with some base AI that is better than CPU level 10 on Smash, and then in giving them this accessible training program, the program would secretly capture how they played, and then that AI would upload itself somewhere onto a server, and then eventually I could capture how people play, and then I could say, make it an open source thing. It's hey, this is the AI that learned to play like this person, or an AI that learned to play like that person, and then people could have an accessible way to play against that person without the actual person, right? It'd be sort of like a ghost image of them.
I think that would actually take off.
Huh?
I think that would take off more as the ghost person than as something to train against.
Well, yeah, but that means I have trouble against this player, and I know that player is going to be at that tournament. So by having this Ghost, I can like find a way to beat that person. How should I play against that person, right? And then you slowly build up your profiles, and eventually you have like this Pokedex of people, right, that you could train against, right? So, and then obviously you take it from the top 10 Smash players, because in an AI training environment, tournaments are basically that. They're trying to figure out who's the best. So you just take the souls, basically, or the play styles of all the people who are the best, and then you make AIs that play like them, and then from there you can train AIs to develop counter strategies versus those top people. And then from there you can like take it even further and get those AIs that have trained against the top people, and then AIs to beat those AIs, and then AIs to beat those AIs, and then AIs to beat those AIs, and then it's just like a generational evolution, right? So that was the plan, but I'm still in the process of figuring out which framework I want to use, and then how am I going to get that to interact with a Wii emulator. Because right now I have frames, but I have made contact with the original Wii devs who built Dolphin, which is a computer, which is an emulator that allows you to play Wii games on computer. So I made contact with them and said, hey, figure this out first, then you can hook it up to the emulator first, and that's where I am. So that is my Smash career in like where it is, in a ditch somewhere, just on a shelf somewhere, not really moving.
You made contact with the devs at Nintendo.
Not Nintendo. The hackers who have hacked the Wii and made an emulator. So that's just as good, because Nintendo no longer supports the Wii.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where it is.
Did you see the AI for?
Yeah, thanks, Skylar. I really appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. At least chat's working. So yeah, just that's where Smash is. We played for a bit, and I discovered I couldn't get enough training, quality training, with the very few people that are around, because we're in a small town. And I decided, hey, why don't we try and make a program instead? So there it is.
Did you see AI for the
Huh? Yeah. I was inspired by that. And also by a guy called Philip the guy? Yeah. So this project has been done before, but for the League. So someone's already invented an AI formally. So I said, hey, why can't we do it for Brawl? Or in this case, Project M.
I'm having trouble with the turtle pieces.
Is it on fire?
No,
I smell smoke.
it's just not printing.
It's not printing. Why? Oh,
I'm
not sure why.
not really my area of expertise. Also, the computer that was needed to transfer files onto the SD card is down.
Oh, okay. It looks like we won't be getting it signed today.
Not today.
Excuses. No. Okay.
Alright.
All right.
So thanks for opening up.
Huh?
Thanks for opening this up.
Sure. I mean, I was doing it for myself, but sure. The show must go on, my friends. Like whatever stream it is, just gotta keep it open, keep it running. I think I might actually get some water. You got nothing else to do today? keys go? This is an age-long problem I haven't solved. There's like keys are not here. Okay, so we did a whole bunch of drilling. And we're back. Yeah, Pixel Bud's still there. Those of you tuning in for Facebook, if you come to the Twitch chat, promise there'll be cookies. Okay, so we need to drill all of this. All of this. All of this. That one's fine. Okay, these are fine. Probably need to debug them. Okay. So yeah, that's why we're making armor. Find a hobby, a sport that we like and enjoy. Drilling along here. Trying to open up these holes big enough. So yeah, we discovered the SCA, which is called the Society of Creative Anachronisms. They're a lot more welcoming, and they have a better combat system, and they don't hold people back. They can fight however they want. But there are training sessions in which, here are the recommended ways to fight. So there's that. So we're gearing up to finally be able to do that, which is participate in full contact sports. And instead of buying, we decided to build it ourselves because steel is cheap, but it takes a lot of work. So here we are working. It's actually more like today's day and age, steel is cheaper than leather. It just is. Like really weird. Actually cheaper than leather. Drilling this along. And I cannot imagine doing this for a job. It's the most boring thing ever. All my life. All my life. Had to be a killer just like Rodney Price all my life. So how are you guys doing amidst the coronavirus? There's a lot of talk on Facebook that the Australian government didn't really act quickly enough. Because they had business interests at heart, so a lot more people got infected. So I saw a post on Facebook where we were compared to New Zealand. So New Zealand is basically Canada to the US. And our government at the very moment is not quite, Trump levels of administration, but pretty close. So here in Australia we have two major parties called the Labour Party and Liberal Party. And the Liberal Party is for business and Labour is for, the workers or the people. So generally a lot of good stuff comes out of Labour, like transport solutions, universal healthcare, stuff for the people, like investments in infrastructure and tax cuts to, the working class, whereas, liberal is all about business. Big business, tax cuts to business, whatever benefits business, and usually that means, whatever the mining companies want. So the thing that annoys me the most about, liberals being in power right now is how they fucked up our NBN. So we had this internet infrastructure upgrade that was in the works, and then so Labour started it. Labour, the government for the people, started it. They started it, and we're basically rolling out Australia's first fiber optic network internet network, and and like halfway through rolling out that infrastructure upgrade, Liberals came into power and said, "This project is too expensive. We're gonna replace it with something called an MTN network," which basically means we're not gonna like build fiber everywhere. We're only gonna build fiber to like the exchange nodes and then copper for the rest of it. And you know that multi MTN or multi something network just didn't work. And so basically they castrated our fiber optics internet, giving us this Frankenstein of a network, which is half copper and half fiber optics. And now that's really shit, because copper is what stops the internet from being fast, because it's a very limited medium to transmit signals. Whereas, you know, like fiber has the entire light spectrum. So yes, that's what pisses me off about the Liberals being in power at the moment. It's just that they fucked up our internet. We're supposed to get a good internet, but they fucked it up for everybody. So now we have to. So now, like, just the other day, like the government was like petitioning Netflix to reduce the quality of their streams so that it wouldn't overload Australia's infrastructure. And just like, why are they making decisions on technologies? Clearly business is not going to drive this. Clearly business is not going to drive this. Like, it's like Telstra is, you know, what used to be the government telecommunications company. It used to be government owned, and then they sold it, and then it became terrible because, you know, the government thought, you know, privately, if Telstra was privately run, they would continue to do good work and services. But no, Telstra just sat there with their monopoly on the telecommunications industry in Australia and just sat there stagnating, just eating money, right? Just drinking money from the populace. They didn't improve anything. They just sat there and stagnated the network and did not prove anything at all. And then now, you know, instead of having top tier internet, we're like the 64th. We have the 64th, we're 64 in world internet quality. Makes me sad, and that's what pisses me off with it, because now I can't have the internet that I want. It's not fast enough. It's terrible, and I can't choose good place. Like there are like houses. Like I want to move to a better place, but because this internet thing, I'm a tech professional. I don't know if you realize this, but I work in software. But because like the internet is not consistent per house, I have to be selective about the houses that I live, and I currently only tolerate the place that I'm in because it has good internet. And just I want to live by myself. I want my own place, but I want the internet to be good because I live off the internet. And not having that readily available sucks. And that's what pisses me off most about the government right now, that they fucked up the internet and they're still in power, and they're just too slow on the ball, like reacting to the coronavirus. A lot of people got sick. the way they dealt with the fire, with the bushfires, really poor there. They didn't really set, like our Prime Minister went to Hawaii, like as the fires were raging. Like, I don't understand. Not really and they've just been cutting funding from essential services like the rural fire department. Just like I just watch a lot of Friendly Jordies and I tend to agree with them. Like they'd just be demonetizing essential services that were, you know, supposed to do backburning programs to keep the impact of bushfires low, and then by not doing that and defunding them instead, like Australia just built up more and more thicket and brush, and eventually it exploded into a firestorm which destroyed entire cities. So that was worrying. And like, yeah, just liberals, what are you doing? So like the Labour Party also led us through the GFC, and we were number one in managed economies, and then now we've fallen down to number 2. So like there is absolutely no reason why to keep, you know, liberals in power. And I admit I fucked up that vote. Like I put them second, but really that's just a deferred vote to liberals. I should just put them dead last. Yeah, should have just done that. Let's see. All right, so it is 9:40 now. Let's see if we'll get this done. All right, guys, gonna have to rush through this. Not a lot of conversation to come up. So yeah, that's the state of Australia at the moment. Got shit internet because of the liberals. A lot of people are infected because of the liberals. Economy's in the toilet. Liberals. Just gotta vote them out. Mining companies own everything because of the liberals. We're still in this lockdown together. Still trying to find a way to stop working. I think that's my ultimate goal now. To find a way to stop working without, you know, going bust. I would love to stop working. Like, don't think I feel particularly interested in software engineering, or at least I haven't really found a project that I'm super keen on doing. Still trying to explore my way out of this place. Explored all the way to Newcastle, and who knows where I'll go next. Okay. No, I'm very tired now. Gotta do this time. It's not much, but it's honest work. You don't really see much work since the war. Got a family to look after all. Wow. Nothing's been the same since the war. It's not much, but it's honest work. Getting closer towards every drill hole we drill, a step closer to fighting in combat awesomeness. I will be known as the settler of Newcastle, of the Hunter Valley. Bushi of Hunter Valley. Done. We've got 2 plates left. We've got this one. We've got this one. This one. Or this one. I know. No matter how many holes you got in, there will always be a routine. No matter how many holes. Nice. Oh, missed fall. But I remember. I'm gonna lower this a bit so I can at least crank if I want to. That's worrying. dead air. I'm trying to eliminate it. I'm just really tired and I just want to get this thing done. We're on the last plate now. I don't know if I want to spend time cleaning it up. I'll leave that till next week. That's 3 hours, man. Oh, it's like 10 o'clock now. I think we can do a bit of cleanup. Probably not gonna happen today. Okay. Also, like, we haven't painted the rest of those. Probably should, but we'll do so later. So the paint turned out okay. Turned out alright. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. Can't scratch it, which is nice. It's formed on pretty well, so it's good black shade that we have on there. Not bad. Just have to pack that up soon. We still have more to do. Spray paint these. We sanded those. Look pretty clean and good enough to spray. We'll do this another time. Generally it turned out pretty well. Yeah. I was hoping to sand it all today, but it's not going to happen. We still need to process and drill out all the other plates, and that took us 4 hours. 4 hours of work. So I think we'll just so this armor has been in the making for about a year now, and we're just getting to the point where we could put it together, formed it out in plates. We're also, dedicated more time to it, and it's finally coming into shape. So yeah, we'll finally have that done, and then next we're moving on to legs, and then arms after that. I'm hoping, because we got the biggest piece, because we got the biggest piece out of the way, I think everything else will be easier, mainly because, they're smaller. So yeah, I'll have to plan out what we're going to do next, because I think I do have to order in some scales, because I'm not going to make that myself. Yeah, so we order that in. Got to design the next piece, and until they arrive, we might just stream until they arrive. So yeah, I'm just going to pack this away. We have to sand these, so we'll have to keep this separate from the rest of the pile. We have ones that are sanded and ones that are not. I think the finish on these is actually more work than we need to. I might not need to do more work than we need to. more work than last time. That's what we should say. We have more work than last time because I think the finish is better. We end up not saying it as much. This is really interesting. Just really setting up. So we're gonna just start winding down. If you guys have any questions, go ahead. I want to practice and play. I think that will do us for tonight. I don't know where to keep the Dremel. Just put it together. Yeah, that works. All right, so that's it. That there. All right, cool. So thanks for tuning in. We're just about done here. Let's find someone to host real quick. I wonder who's on. Oh, who's on? Don't hurry, Silence KTR. Ooh. I wonder who else is in Science and Tech. Someone I heard, damn it. It doesn't have to be that hard. There's so many. There's a lot of people. Science and tech. scroll, see if we scroll right to the bottom, see what happens. There's just no one else here. Is this repeating? I feel like we're repeating ourselves. I feel like there's no one else here. Yeah, I really feel like we're. Yeah. Main ending. And don't know who to. Here we go, who's Tia? Lots of programmers. Lots of programmers assigned to Tia. Wow, just a lot of coders on Tia. And there's us. Wow, we got one viewer. That's cool. We finally scrolled all the way down and found us on this in this place. Hmm. Who do we talk to then? Hello, comics console kit, game dev. A lot of coders. Yeah, we'll just post Michael Forrest. Michael Forrest. Alright, well he's apparently showing the way it works with coding, so hopefully that's cool. And I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy Michael Forrest. On the raid, on the growth stream, if you will.